All right, welcome back. So, those of you that are just joining us, we are reviewing the Blue Collar Project module here within NetSuite to help you with your project financials and project operations. If you didn't get to see the first video, go back and take a look at it. That's how we create the project and how we create a project contract, which is what we're looking at now. But what we're going to take a look at here in this video is, uploading the project budget. Uh, the project budget is usually the um, end result of the estimating process. So the estimating process helps us to do our cost estimate buildups. Usually that's done, quite frankly, a lot of times in Excel. If we have a system like an AccuBid, a QuickBid, a HeavyBid, you name it, those systems all export to Excel as well. And so what we're going to do in NetSuite is we're going to take that estimate and then we're going to upload that into NetSuite so that we can create our job cost budget. Can we create a job cost budget without an estimating tool and without uploading a document? We absolutely can. I'll show you how to do that now. You can see because we're really not in, the project hasn't started yet, so the budget hasn't been initiated, let's say. We can add a budget item. I'm just showing some of the 16 divisions here of the standard CSI cost codes. We can match your cost codes too if you'd like, but we'll just use these for today's conversation, but we'll take the general construction, maybe the cost code for surveying, and the cost type for material, because we're just going to send some people out there to go do that. And we need to be able to enter an amount in there as our original cost budget. So it's just as easy as that. If we need to add additional line items, maybe under that general construction, but not underneath the survey cost code, maybe design or site assembly and install, we can come back in and add those items in at the exact same time and with the same level of relative ease. So long story short, pretty easy to come in here and be able to update those line items and be able to build up a cost budget in NetSuite. So again, most of the time, this is going to be done in an estimating tool. It's going to provide us a lot more granularity in terms of being able to build up our cost estimates. But if we just wanted to come in and hand enter those, we absolutely could. I'm going to go ahead and delete these items here because we're actually going to come back and upload a job cost budget to this specific project. Let's go ahead and refresh that. And we're back to 0. So let's go into our setup, import, and saved CSV imports. Now on the saved CSV import, you can see where we've already built a project budget import and kind of associated a mapping here. We'll do this for you during the implementation and build this mapping for you, but even if we didn't, it's a fairly easy process to do. We're just telling NetSuite that we're importing some blue collar budget item records, which are custom records in the NetSuite database. And we're going to select a file here to be able to upload. I've got a budget upload example here teed up and ready to go. And before we actually upload this, let me show you what that file actually looks like in Excel. Really, we don't need too many bits of information, really just 3 pieces. If we wanted to add a 4th, we could say what that is here in just a second, but we're looking at what the cost code is, what that cost type is that we selected. The division is going to be inherited, or the phase is going to be inherited from the cost code. But again, you can see where, some of these are going to have multiple, like tree removal, going to have both labor and equipment cost. The stump disposal, same thing. When we go to do the foundations and slabs as part of the concrete, we're going to have labor, material, and equipment. Sometimes, though, we might just have subcontract, or we might have subcontract associated with a bunch of other things as well. So really what we just need are the dollars and those cost codes and cost types. If we wanted to upload multiple project budgets at a single time, we would just need one more column in there for what project we're going to budget. So this is called the example project budget file, and it's the exact same file that I'm going to be uploading here. So we're just going to hit next. NetSuite's going to ask us, do we want to add or update a current contract? We're just going to say, we're just going to add this because we don't have a budget there already. You'll notice that most of it has been auto associated already, which we did by design. We left one here unassociated so you can see how easy it is to associate those columns in our project budget, or excuse me, in that Excel file to the project budget items in NetSuite. So if I just take this related cost code item, drag and drop it, I can map that against that related cost code, which is a required field when we're creating a budget item, as you might expect. Down here, I'm going to go ahead and specify the project budgeted. And instead of importing that against the project budgeted here, I'm actually just going to select it from a drop-down menu. And I'm going to say, we're going to go to that Plaza Mall commercial build out, which is the project that we've been working on today, and hit OK. We'll go ahead and hit next. And then that's what it's going to ask us, do we want to like overwrite this? Which I don't. I'm just going to run it. And so it makes me confirm that we're not going to save any changes to that project budget import. We can view that job status here and watch it go from 0 to 100%, but truthfully, it happens pretty quick. So we can actually navigate back over to the blue collar project record. Again, that Plaza Mall commercial build out project that we were just on. And then we can do a quick little refresh of the project budget. All right, as expected, we can see where all those items started to come in, from the labor for the bond and labor for project administration, even the subcontract for the temporary utilities. And just like we looked at, the tree removal has both labor and equipment, stump disposal, labor and equipment, so on and so forth. At the beginning of the project, of course, our original cost estimate is going to be the exact same as our current cost estimate because we haven't issued any change orders yet. The current cost estimate is going to be the original plus any change orders that might increase or decrease our cost budgets. And then we also have a third version of the budget we're calling our projected cost estimate, or what some of you might refer to as an estimate at completion. This estimate at completion is really the only field in the project budget that can be overridden after the project budget has been submitted. So let's go ahead and submit that budget here. We'll click OK. Basically, that's going to lock everything down for us so that we can't, we can try to click on this field here and it's really not going to allow us to do anything. But we want it to be that way, right? Because we want it to be kind of formula driven to say, take my original plus any change orders in the system to give me this number. I don't want anybody overriding that. But I may want to have somebody to come in and say, you know what, I do want to override that projected estimate because the budget may be 45,000, but I think we can actually get it done for 42,500. And we can enter a comment to say something like, a little bit of cost savings. And we'll add that as a comment. At which point we can come back and review those later so that we can start to understand, and I guess 2,500 is a little different than 2,900, but we can start to understand why we're going to be $2,900 under budget for this line item, why we might potentially be, say, a few $1,000s over the budget on that line item. And we can start to put together a little bit of a top 5 driver report as to why this is going to be $1,000 over budget for the project as a whole. All right, so we've created the budget, and now we need to go ahead and book some cost against the budget. Let's go ahead and say, from this perspective here, we have the temporary utilities and we've subcontracted that out. We've got 39,502 in the budget, but we don't have anything in our committed costs yet, and we haven't actually had any actual costs. Let's go ahead and create a new purchase order. And we're going to make a subcontract purchase order. So let's see, we're going to have B&N Construction here. And we're going to come down to our items tab, and we're going to go ahead and select that Plaza Mall commercial build out project. And the cost codes here are going to be limited to the ones that we actually had on the project. So you'll notice the temporary utilities was one of the ones that showed up for us. And then the item that we're going to use is actually going to be a lump sum subcontract item, meaning that maybe they give us a lump sum deliverable of phase 1 temp utilities, right? And we'll make that, instead of 30,000, we'll make it 15. And then we'll copy the previous one there, and we'll make that phase 2. All right. Let's go ahead and, I need to change my form here. We're gonna make this a subcontract purchase order. It's gonna expose a couple other fields here for us, like that line item, which I was missing previously. So let's go ahead and redo that here. We're going to specify again that blue collar project of the Plaza Mall. And our cost code there are going to be temporary utilities, lump sum subcontract item, phase one for 15,000. I copy the previous and give it line item number 20, and we're going to call that phase two. And we're going to call it 15,000 bucks to give us a total of the 30,000 in general. I know we had just over $30,000 there allocated to cost, but again, maybe a little bit of cost savings here on this particular project. We've also got this denoted as a blue collar subcontract, which is going to allow that to pop up in our subcontract tab a little bit later on our subcontract demo that we'll do in another segment. All right, so let's come back to our blue collar project now. Let's refresh our project budget. And we'll notice that our committed cost column has gone up by $30,000. Great. And everything's drillable and clickable so that we can get back right into the transaction level details. So again, for our committed costs, meaning our open purchase orders, open subcontract balances and the like, we can see that 30,000 bucks, and we've got that subcontract line item for temporary utilities just as planned. Maybe we also come in and update our projected estimate at that time to say, hey, we got a really good deal on that, and we're going to update our projections so that we have $0 in our cost to complete here, and we're going to save that 9,500 bucks. I'm going to go ahead and save that projection also. And I'm going to drill into my committed cost column so that you can see that, yep, there's that purchase order number 42 for B&N Construction that we just talked about and just created. Let's go ahead and close that out, and we'll look at this sales order. Now, let's pretend that B&N Construction sends us an invoice in the mail, and it references this purchase order number 42. Great. We can actually come up into our global search here, give it a little prefix that says I'm looking for a purchase order, and number 42. I could navigate right back to this same purchase order from the global search. Makes it very easy for our AP department to come in and enter bills. So we're going to enter a bill right off of the purchase order or right off of the subcontract, if you will. It's going to automatically populate the things that we may want to bill for. In this case, we may want to bill for both line items on this particular PO. But I'm not going to do that today. Actually, we're just going to bill for a part of it because we'll talk a little bit more about subcontract retentions in another video. But we're going to just say let's bill for 10,000 bucks here, and no retentions held. And so we're just billing for a piece of that line item. And we're not actually going to bill for any of this line item at all. We're just going to leave it blank. And we'll go ahead and hit save. I probably should have entered a invoice number from our vendor there, but I didn't. And no problem, I guess, at least for right now, but we would want to make sure that we entered a bill number there so we can get the right one paid and remitted to the vendor here when we go to do our payment processing. Let's come back to the project budget, do another refresh. And we'll see some updates happening. So now our committed cost has gone down by $10,000 because our actual costs have gone up by $10,000, right? So the remaining open balance on the purchase order is only 20K. Our actual costs are now 10,000 bucks because we have a vendor bill that's actually posting to the GL, but our total costs really haven't changed at all. So again, if we want to click and drill into the transaction level detail here, absolutely fine. We can see that we got that vendor bill for that line item, 10,000 bucks. The other line item we didn't end up billing. Go ahead and close that back out and come back to the project. So really at the end of the day, what we've looked at here, folks, is the ability to import the project budget, to be able to track our open commitments against the budget, and then be able to enter vendor bills or actual costs against the budget. I will just say that we only looked at one example of a vendor bill and a purchase order, but what we can actually book in against the project are things like materials adjustments or materials consumption, journal entries, even including payroll journal entries, labor cost transactions. We can book really any number of different things, right? And so at the end of the day, the big takeaway here is that we're getting real-time job cost reports, and it's also going to affect the WIP report. So let's just take a couple more minutes here to reopen that WIP report and take a quick peek at how that has now been updated. Boom, there we go. Let's go ahead and put that out by Luke again, who happened to be the project manager. Plasma build out. We are way upside down on this project. We've only got an estimate in there for our contract of $360,000, but we've got cost in there in excess of 1.7 million, leading to really, really bad GPs. And so we'll probably clean this up before we jump into the next demo. But join us next time. We're going to go over things like subcontract management, revenue recognition, other types of project profitability reporting and the like. But thanks again for joining, and we'll see you on the next one.